Hello and welcome to Sammy C. Press. Today we're diving back into something more than Shakespeare poetry workbook. We're going to be talking about Robert Frost. Some quick facts. He was born in 1874 and he died in 1963. He was born in San Francisco. He began writing poetry at the age of 16. He had hay fever, so he couldn't cut his own hay. He was first considered ordinary and boring. He was a challenging, witty, and sometimes grouchy teacher. When Frost was 19, he sent his first poem into a magazine called The Dependent. The magazine accepted his poem. What an exciting moment for Frost. He didn't want to go to college, and he knew that. He wanted to be a poet. So this was a giant step in the right direction. But he still had a long way to go. You could not live off the income from one poem. He tried to write for the Sentinel, a weekly newspaper, but they didn't like it. Frost then taught school. He married a school teacher, and Frost did not like teaching young children, though. Added to the fact that there wasn't much money to be made as a teacher. Since young children were not his specialty, he decided to teach college students. But there was one small problem with that idea. Frost himself had never finished college. Remember, he didn't want to go to college. He began his studies at Harvard, but he was bored by the courses. The next try was in 1900. Frost and his wife, along with their baby girl, moved to New Hampshire and ran a dairy farm. Again, not the life for him. Remember that America was having a hard time accepting modern poetry. Well, since Robert was a modern poet, he was rejected for years. But he did not give up. What is a poet to do that cannot get published in his own country? Why, try another one. So Frost went to England. That was in 1912. Frost went to a publisher in London with 30 of his poems. No more than 3 days later, they were accepted for a book. Take that, rejection letters! Within a year, Frost was a professional writer. In 1914, they returned to New England. Guess what happened? He was welcomed home without the "he's a modern writer, we don't know" stuff. The very ones who rejected him wanted to publish him. How the tables had turned for Frost. He later became a college teacher. He also won the Pulitzer Prize in 1923, then again in 1930, then again in 1936, and one more time in 1942. He read the poem, The Gift Outright, at the inauguration of President John F. Kennedy. Today, he is considered one of the greats. What a lesson we learn. Never give up. Believe in yourself even when others do not. When we were receiving our training to be detectives, we looked at Dust of Snow. We're going to look at this one again to learn a couple more details about learning how to dissect a poem. Now remember, the meter is iambic, meaning da-dum, and then the feet is dimeter, meaning two, except for the end, which we'll talk about later. Now, how many stanzas are in this poem? Remember, a stanza is how the poem is broken up, so there should be a space in between marking the end of each stanza. You got it, 2 stanzas. Now, how many lines are in each of these stanzas? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. So that means these stanzas are called quadrants. Think about a four-wheeler. A four-wheeler has 4 wheels, so it's called a quad. It's kind of a fun and easy way to remember. Now, in this short poem, Frost is telling us to get outside, that being outside is good for us. Frost was himself having a bad day, so he went outside. The simple act of a crow knocking snow down on him made him feel happier. Isn't that true? For those of us who live where it snows. Standing under a tree and having snow sprinkled down on us can be refreshing and even funny. It's ironic in the poem, too, that a poisonous tree, the hemlock, and the crow bring happiness, even though both can be viewed in a negative light. Frost, through these objects, has tried to highlight that sometimes creatures linked with negative aspects of life can be the bringer of change as well as happiness. Robert Frost has many, many amazing poems, one of which is The Road Not Taken. It is a bit longer. If you would like to learn about this poem and what it means and how to break it down, you can check it all out in my workbook. Feel free to check out more about Robert Frost. Until next time.